I would have done it before. But it's really yeah, there's shoppers, there's gas station. As long as I think everything they have. Usually I get two.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasper Dent. I'm the assistant manager here at McNally Robinson Booksellers, Saskatoon. Thank you so much to everyone joining us both in person and online tonight. It's an honor to have you. This event is taking place on Treaty 6 territory. This is the land of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Dakota, Nakota, and Lakota, and homeland of the Métis. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Saskatoon launch of I Am a 60s Scoop Warrior by Dr. Jacqueline Maurice and published by Beach Street Books. Thank you so much to Dr. Jacqueline for being here this evening and for working with us to make this event happen. Just a note that this event is being live streamed, so there's a web camera just up to your right here. I'd also like to take this moment to remind you all to silence your phones for the duration of the event. If you'd like to buy copies of I Am a 60s Scoop Warrior or Dr. Jacqueline's other books, we have some up here by the signing table and also on the desk by where you first walked in. You're welcome to get your book signed before you purchase it. We just ask that you please do remember to stop by the cash desk on your way out. Dr. Jacqueline Maurice is a distinguished scholar, author, and advocate with a deep commitment to advancing Indigenous rights, education, and social justice. A proud Métis woman, she brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to her work, drawing from her personal journey and professional expertise. Dr. Maurice holds a doctorate in social work, emphasizing Indigenous and Métis knowledge systems and community-centered approaches to reconciliation and healing. Her groundbreaking research has illuminated the systemic challenges faced by Indigenous and Métis communities, particularly in the areas of child welfare, education, and intergenerational trauma. Through her work, Dr. Maurice has become a passionate voice for the empowerment of Indigenous and Métis peoples, promoting culturally responsive practices and policies that foster healing and resilience. In addition to her academic contributions, Dr. Maurice is a celebrated author whose writings explore themes of identity, history, and the transformative power of storytelling. Her work serves as a bridge between cultures, offering insights into the rich traditions of Métis and other Indigenous communities while addressing pressing contemporary issues. A dynamic speaker and educator, Dr. Maurice is dedicated to fostering dialogue and understanding among diverse audiences. She's been recognized for her efforts to build partnerships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities, striving toward a future rooted in mutual respect, reciprocity, relationships, and equity. Recently, Dr. Maurice was humbly awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal at a powerful ceremony hosted by the women of the Métis Nation in Ottawa. Dr. Maurice's enduring legacy is one of compassion, advocacy, and a steadfast commitment to creating positive change for generations to come. We're so honored to have her joining us tonight. So everyone, please give Dr. Jacqueline Maurice a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Jasper. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, friends. Friends that are like family. And I'm proud to say also family that is just coming in. So please welcome my family here, Barb's. Joey, and you guys, you know my story. Some of you know my story. And my nephew who's here, the next generation. Leaving a legacy is what it's about for me. It's not about me. I do not like being in the spotlight. So come on in, Keegan and Joey. I love both of you. Incredible. And for me, anyone that knows me, I really don't care for the attention on me. But more importantly, I want to start in a good way. So I would like to invite our elder and also our MLA up here, both who have spiritual powers in my mind and in my heart. Please welcome Louise Fraser and April Chief.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. April Chiefcap. I am an MLA in Saskatoon Westview. But before I became an MLA, I was a university instructor and I taught a lot of courses in Indigenous studies. And one of the topics that I noticed was missing in Indigenous studies, and a former student is here tonight, which is great, is the issue of the 60s scoop. You know, I found that that was just a topic that was missing in the curriculum. And so I actively sought for material in this area. And as I was looking for material specifically on Métis survivors of the 60s scoop, I came across a film done by APTN. And it featured my good friend, Robert Doucette, and Dr. Jacqueline Maurice, as well as Dr. Alison Stevenson from the University of Saskatchewan. And their stories were heartbreaking, but very, very insightful. I went on to buy Dr. Maurice's book, and when I was having a campaign fundraiser, she walked in the door, and I was like, oh my God, you're Dr. Maurice. This is so amazing to have you here. And I've gotten to know her over the last year and a half. And I just find, you know, when I'm in the room with Dr. Maurice, not only do I learn a lot, but she has a very calming presence and makes me feel very, very, very grounded. So I'm very pleased to be here this evening. And to hear, this evening is really about her and her work and to hear what she has to say. But with that, I would just like to thank you all for coming. And I would like to introduce Louise Fraser. Louisa, and she has just convocated with her Bachelor of Education. She's going to speak for this is another very amazing story. Because if I touch it, it's going to fall on the ground. That's good this week.
Good evening, everybody. Not much of a speaker, but Jackie asked me to say a few words. When in my culture, when you're giving tobacco, it's a privilege to say a few words about the person. I remember Jackie from a way back. I think I was just about finished my social work program. I think she was probably doing the same. It's a few years back now, but we didn't, I didn't see Jackie for quite a while, but then I heard she's writing books and I'm so proud of her for doing that. And to sharing how about what happened to children being taken away from their families, and how that's her work now. That's the work that she's doing, and it's so I'm so proud of her. Thanks for asking me, assistant.
As I had mentioned, it's important to start in a good way. Thank you, and Miigwech. Really appreciate that. And you know, my first book was based on my story, my lived experience, entitled The Lost Children, A Nation's Shame, TLC for short. And the book launch was here 14 years ago. And what I can say is even then I was still shaking in my boots, although I don't wear boots, as many of you can see. So, and I say what has changed? I would say that journey from the head to the heart. I'm probably an academic at the core, but I also believe, as you'll see in my early pages of this latest book, what comes from the heart reaches the heart. and all the teachings are there. And I never want to just be lost in terms of analysis paralysis, right? Just going mulling things over in my mind. Because then once I can receive those teachings in my heart and my spirit, I can reach out to the world around me, no matter what that looks like. Family, extended family, spiritual family, and community. And more recently at the national level with Women of the Métis Nation and Manitoba Métis Federation and various groups that I have had the doors open for me, not the doors slammed on me. Let's make that clear. And a really important contribution when you were reading my bio is when we do say forging those relationships and that respect and reciprocity with Indigenous and non-Indigenous groups. Even over the last week, having those opportunities to be a truth teller and to share facts and story with newcomers to Canada, that has been critical because many of us have been displaced. Many of us have been torn from our embrace, like our home country, our home community, and our homeland, right? Home of the Métis, homeland of the Métis, as we say. And so for me, and even loss of identity and, even understanding and asking, how do we even begin to navigate, our way full circle, our way home, and to navigate those needed conversations and dialogue. And so, yeah, and a lot has changed in that sense. But 14 years ago, I want to make it really clear here tonight, right? Sometimes I'm speechless and, words, no matter what language we speak, may not articulate the impact. And for me, I am impactful, impactful. First with a strong healing journey, sobriety journey, finding my voice, finding my strength, my courage, my conviction, and my vision. How's that in a nutshell? And all that started with baby steps. But what I want to say really importantly in terms of forging new relationships and stepping into change and transformation and witnessing those changes and transformation is sometimes my deepest wishes or prayers, if you will, and questions at the same time, hopefully without doubt, is when will family, when we will meet full circle? Because in a sense, the residential schools, in a great sense, the day schools, and then the 60s Scoop, a very much race-based and colonized policy and programs and practices, they succeeded in severing those ties. So I always said, okay, when is family, keep praying, keep vigilant, keep healing, and so forth, and to bring that light forward in a good way. And so why I do what I do, and then, why was I don't know why I was approached for the latest book, but what I want to say, and I'll make it clear again, I was looking and looking just like a kid who would anticipate, but I'm very happy to say tonight why I do what I do. My biological mom, Dorothy Kesey, is here. Joey Kesey is here. Karen is here. And their son, my nephew, Keegan, is here. And for anybody that knows, the hardest place to carry that message of healing is on the home front. So I'm just grateful that I'm living long enough to see it materialize through God's grace and Creator's grace. And, before I continue also, because they won't be left off the hook, Dorothy Kesey, affectionately known as Barb's and Mom, right? Today, if you wonder as a daughter what you can give to your parents, today is her 76th birthday, and she gets to be here with me. I'm your president. Right? And for those that know my story, yeah, in Creator's time, not our time, right? That's huge. So happy birthday, Barb's. And so 15, even 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the way this all started with these 4 books, people were asking me when I was doing my studies and my upgrading, Jackie, who's your family? Where do you come from? What about next of kin? what about medical history and so forth, right? And I've often related that these were unanswered questions for me. But these unanswered questions became an inner search, and if you will, research for me. And I wanted answer to those questions. And if anyone knows, that takes a lot of strength. So I thought, well, who do I even go to, or where do I even begin? And with the Lost Children, A Nation Shame, which was a springboard from my doctoral work, I approached social services. And that's when I first met Barb's. You know, I started getting a few answers, not many, because as you can imagine, I know a couple of us can relate to this. Social services only release case summaries. And social services in Regina, even during the height of the Adopt Indian Métis program, conveniently misplaced files where there were floods or there were fires. Not that I heard of, but anyway, so I only had case files to go on. But at least it was that created that little bit of a ripple effect. For many of us, thousands of us who had been a part of the 60s Scoop in the late 60s into the early 70s, Saskatchewan was the Adopt Indian Métis program. For many of us, finding our way home and journeying through those traumas and losses and shame has been daunting at times, no doubt. And for me, really, how can I say, is that finding my story and my voice was one thing through social services, but many of us who remain foster children and not adopted or placed for adoption, a shortcoming of the system, let's just say that, is, we also went through the medical system. The educational system wasn't exactly favorable or encouraging, if you want to look at it like that. And so I began to look at some of my medical files too. And, although you'll see some of that in my first book, even a chapter dedicated to the medical system or, our health authority, if you will, many of the diagnoses there were very shame-based, as was social services. And I know I'm not the only one, right? And I often say I could just begin, alphabetically, right? And many of you know, like, to thank goodness for humor, it's a wonderful medicine. My, like adjustment disorder, thousands of kids probably who were placed in foster care or even day schools and feeling the intergenerational impact of the residential school. Well, no, an adjustment disorder, perhaps, but quite frankly, and I always say this out loud, is many of us, it shouldn't be an adjustment disorder. We should get an order of merit for being resilient, because many of us are still here, and many of you are here who I know also, Robert and Brian and others. There is no adjustment disorder, maybe for the system, right? I think they have a little hard time navigating and changing their system, their policies and practices. Let's just put it that way, put that one out there. And also, as a young child, experiencing a disability, which is also mentioned in I'm a 60s Scoop Warrior, with severe epilepsy. At a young age, also that being looked at and shamefully misdiagnosed by age 11. And I probably even shared this 14 years ago at this very podium, being diagnosed and looking at my medical reports as slightly mentally retarded. And I said to George Inkster at the time, some of you may know him, and I said, well, look, George, here, by age 11, I'm slightly mentally retarded. And George, in his beautiful wisdom, because he taught at the Saskatchewan Indian Federated College, he goes, well, Jackie, at least it's only slightly. No sympathy whatsoever, right? Like, really? But, to navigate also through that, right? And just many other, and, I'm here to say is, and what I also relate and pass on my teachings, if I have any, in the newest book is two things. Listen to those who know. So like our elders, Louisa, thank you. But you know what? Be wary of those who think they know, including systems who are very quick to assess or, misdiagnose, not always, but to triage you and push you through, as fast as they can. well, in this case, in a lot of days, it's not pushing you through, you're just waiting in a hallway, you know, in so many respects too. But I was a child that was waiting. I mean, I was waiting in a hallway of some kind, I suppose. Anyway, you know, so really navigating through that and continue to give voice and light. And shortly after I started to research and write about my own story, I found out that, guess what? Patrick Johnson, two things, was the first one to use the term 60 scoop in 1983. He was at the University of Manitoba with Brad McKenzie. Brad McKenzie became my external for my PhD work. But the point is, as soon as I started sharing my story, often doing it for free or, you know, just because people wanted to hear it, was I found out there weren't only thousands, but there were tens of thousands of us that were a part of the scoop. And even now, we could say, why is this conversation and gathering important tonight? Is that we still have a scoop, a high number of Indigenous children, Métis children, Inuit children in the care of the child welfare system. Well, there's been some meaningful change around kinship care, customary care, you know, baby steps as it relates to investing in prevention. We still have a long ways to go. So there's even a millennial scoop, if you want to look at it like that. And we have to ask, where do we go? How do we move forward, again, in a good way? So that becomes really important. And, you know, I'm just one of these people, believe it or not, now you won't know it because I'm getting comfortable up here. Once I found my voice, I actually like sitting at the back, you know, and just observing. But now these doors continue to open for me, and I'm so blessed. And, you know, even this last Friday, I'll just give you some example. If there's gifts, right, in what we all do, sometimes there's a bit of a self-doubt, you know, in the back of my mind, or a blind faith. But why I do what I do, this last Friday, as with many opportunities, I now have the opportunity to go into, be invited into a circle as a knowledge keeper. I call myself a knowledge seeker. That's the prayer I put out. And I was at EGAD's Youth Center for the second time. So we're building that beautiful relationship and rapport. And why I do what I do is I walked in just like, because I know I was meant to be there and was invited. And before the circle got started, a young teenager from Syria actually introduced me. I was really surprised. He had a copy of the latest book, I'm a 60 Scoop Warrior, you know? And he just did this phenomenal introduction of myself, right? And he, coming to Canada and fleeing war, wants to learn more about Indigenous history and relations and going forward in a good way. And so that's why I do what I do, not for myself today. It is about that leaving a legacy, which is really critical. And, you know, two things again that I articulate in my book there. Again, what comes from the heart reaches the heart. But leaving a legacy, what that really means for me is, how can I say that what I've really been reflecting on over the last couple years, and you know, it just came to me when we were at our Riverbend ICM circles, is I've always given thanks to like George Inkster, the elders, and those that have come before me, the ancestors. But the whole thing in leaving a legacy, the whole purpose and meaning in leaving a legacy is to remember that each and every one of us here, we are the future ancestors of those yet unborn. So for Tatiana, for Keegan that's here, for those that are consider themselves young at heart, right? You know, we are the future ancestors of those yet unborn. And do I see myself as a writer? No, I don't. I'm not a writer, but I am a truth teller, and I want to continue to be a storyteller, an educator, a voice, and an advocate. And for those that haven't yet found their voice nor their journey. So I think that's really critical to why we're here tonight. And maybe I'll just read a couple of things. I really like this latest book. Not because I'm in it. Let me clarify that. I'm a 60 Scoop Warrior. I was approached by Saunders Distributing in Ottawa, and they had said to me, oh, you were a part of Métis people in the land series with an Aldra. She had a book, or she was the author on that one, and they did a segment on I am a 60 Scoop person, survivor, if you will. So I was approached earlier this year to maybe write extensively, and then a couple of roadblocks, if you will. First, they said, well, could you just not just write on I am a 60 Scoop, or pardon me, I am a residential school survivor? I said, no. That is not my experience. I would not do it just. It would be totally disrespectful. Anyone that knows me, I'm a straight teller. I said, but I am a 60 Scoop Warrior. So we started with that. On the cover, which I love, right? You know, it's nice to have a book where you can tell a straight story and also have illustrations and pictures, which is really cool, I think, no matter what age you are. And for me, you know, if you're a child of the child welfare system, I grew up without pictures or without a family album. As a matter of fact, I've used unpacking the colonial knapsack in some classes. Someone pulled out the family album. I said, take a look what's in it. Tell me what's in it. Nothing, right? So, you know, when you're a part of that colonialized era, then there, you know, it's some mending and healing to be done. But here, so we have pictures finally. How beautiful is that? Initially, they wanted a picture of the residential school on the cover. I said, no, this is not, respectfully, not my experience. So here we have, at the height of the AIM program, this young little fellow says, is there a family that needs us? Right? And that's during the AIM program. You know, we were a part of a publicity campaign, a mass publicity campaign. Many of us were on street lamps and in newspapers and so forth. And but just to look at some of this, right? On this one, I've used often, and through my research and inner search, the picture of myself as a youngster, which was used for the campaign, for the Adopt Indian Métis campaign, and sitting in a social services office in Regina. So you don't hear me talk fondly about Regina, that's why. Not just a legislative disorder. Kidding. Okay, so, and then it goes on a bit, you know, to really have some amazing but true facts. The distributor and the publisher said, well, oh, what I want you to do in these little captions here is put some fun facts in here. I'm like, are you kidding? There's no fun facts about the 60s Scoop. Trust me, there is none. And Robert and Brian, like, you know, yeah, tell me about it. I do try and put the fun into dysfunctional, but that's another story. So we came to some common ground, right? And we said amazing but true facts, which are really, you know, truth telling and powerful. So, you know, what the government at the time was doing here in Saskatchewan. Some quotes from Allison Stevenson, which April had mentioned eloquently, and the backdrop to both the residential school era, but also the TRC, the 94 calls to action, and then defining the 60s Scoop. And there is a bit of a backdrop again to day schools and so forth. And then my story. And I guess I found some of these images very powerful. Again, not just for grades 3 and 4. That's the hopes and the intent of this work, to go into grades 3 and 4 curriculum from coast to coast to coast. But every child matters. I just found this really striking, this image here, even though I've seen it many times before. And certainly have wrote extensively on it. And this one I quite like, because I was asked to submit some pictures. And again, this is why I do what I do, right? Many of you who know me, and I just can't help but get a little emotional. Can you pass me my water, one of you, please? And so kind of midway into the book, thank you so much. Thank you, I can put them here, perfect. And they may not know it at this time, that journey full circle to connect and reconnect with birth family. Are you guys ready for this? Where's Joey, by the way? Did Joey step away? Okay, so Karen and beautiful Keegan, take a look at this. Yeah. So that's what I mean by making full circle, right? my spirit has always craved and hungered for family in my life. And I remember this moment very clearly. Little Keegan was born. Oh, guess what? During the height of the pandemic, right? And we sat at the old grain fields just on 8th Street here. And that was a beautiful turning point for myself to connect with Keegan, who's here today, almost 5 years later. Is that what it's not about in terms of the story? And then some more amazing but true facts in here. And I'm not going to read them all because then you may not buy the book, right? And some of you may not know that also too. Over time, we have some really staunch and fierce advocates who have endured the 60s Scoop through some of our work here and the invitations I've had. The Contemplative Arts Festival at Grosvenor United Church. Gary Tinker, who has endured multiple abilities or disability issues. He walked from northern Saskatchewan all the way down to the Legislative Assembly to give voice and create that awareness for those who have endured the 60 Scoop, but also multiple issues and complex, needs, as we say. So I've got that picture of him in here. And to know that, we don't do it just as one. Many of us are coming forward in a good way and creating this dialogue and discussion in these circles. And I think I'm going to pause after here in a minute. And I always read this, probably more true than ever. And many of you will get tired of hearing this. But my work and my vision is my prayer that I always bring forward. And again, closing in a good way, little Keegan, how cool is that, right? Aww. Right? Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. And, just seeing that again, for those that have known glimpses into my story, I'm so grateful that I can make full circle. I've run into survivors and into others that have said, you know what? Oh, why would I want to stay in Saskatoon? No one's ever done me any favor, kind of thing, right? Woe is me, right? No one's going to understand. No one's standing with me as I search out my roots and make full circle. On and on and on, right? And yes, I've traveled. I've gone to Ottawa to do my master's, my PhD in Toronto, did some volunteer work overseas and so forth, right? But I've always made full circle. And I really believe in doing that. And thank goodness I can, and create those links or connections. And many of us that have contended with mental health and addictions are a disease of disconnect. And I am a truth teller. All of you know, many of you know too. I've often been quoted for saying that those of us that were a part of the child welfare system and foster care, it's a great boot camp for becoming unhoused or homeless. It really is. I mean, where is home anyway? And I certainly see that in some of the community work I do. Riverbend ICM, volunteered for almost 11 years now at Westside Community Clinic, and my friends are there. And April, one of them even April, two beautiful Aprils here tonight. I love that. I was coming out of Westside Community Clinic one night after volunteering, and when the sun sets, it's a different story, or more of a story is revealed, I guess I would say. This one woman, I offered her some food stuff. They usually offer me some food stuff. And she's like, I don't want that, kind of thing. And then she looked at me through her unpredictable eyes. She says, you're that 60 Scoop survivor. And I guess she heard me on, like, we never know when we're making an impact, right? With our voice and our truth and our story and our advocacy. And I said, well, thank you. She heard me on APTN or something like that. And I said, yeah. And then she just graciously let her guard down and took, that food, right? But we never know when we're reaching. And I mean, people reached out to me and I was the unreachable, trust me, in so many respects. So I'm just going to close with this. And then I'm going to ask a couple friends. Also, there's a second mic, so don't worry, you don't have to come up here and be under the spotlight. But I'm gonna ask a couple people to share a few words too, in whichever order. And after this prayer here, just so you know you're on deck, I would love for even to say this, now it's reality, not just a theory. I would love for my biological family to come up here, so you're not off the hook, especially on a birthday night too. Okay, my work and hard work is dedicated to the lost children who are beginning and continuing their journey home. For those who have not yet found their voices, their stories, their belonging, their identity and relations. May our lost children find their own strength, courage, and voice within. May they find peace, love, and contentment. May our lost children trust their deep intuitive knowing and hear the voice, guidance, and teachings of our ancestors so that they may never need to walk alone. And you're probably asking me, like, why is she, reading her own work? Because this prayer is really powerful and I'll get lost in the energy and distracted. But this is the prayer that I pray for. I pray for many prayers, ironically, right? And, but that's my prayer because there are still one too many children, as my friend says, out there tonight that are unhoused and lost and contending with loss of family and connections and relations and family. And so that is my prayer for the lost children. And yeah, I'm a little serious tonight because I know I'm cognitive of time, right? But okay, Barb's and Joey and Karen and Keegan, you guys are up here with me. So again, just so you guys can witness this for your own eyes, anybody that knows me, I'm not just about talking the talk, right? It warms my heart and heals my heart and my spirit. When I got this beautiful bracelet. Thank you. And just a minute. One moment, please. Your caller number 690. Anybody that knows me at the best of times, I just love giving. The gift of giving, and thank you for this beautiful gift with the turquoise. I love it. And I'll hold your hand. And so Keegan. Astam. Well, let's begin with the next generation. Yeah. So Keegan is really important to me. And I just love giving. So what do you give a kid? Someone told me I'm a natural with children, although I felt like that gift was stolen from me. I got a toque for you, Keegan. Look at so cool. 3 left. Thank you. There you go, my friend. The seasonal too. And guess what? There's 6 on. So six family members, 6 gingerbread persons. There you go, Keegan. For little Keegan. There you go, my friend. My little nephew. That's okay. You might have it. And with Keegan and Joe. Joe, I love you. And there's a little cool keychain. One for Keegan and one for you. Yeah. And importantly, also Karen. Make sure I get these ones right. And it's been a blessing to meet Karen. I remember when Karen, Joey, and Keegan and I were meeting. Again, it was during the height of the pandemic and we were sitting in little pods. If anyone, what a strange time that we lived in, right? And I seem to have remembered also that, during the pandemic, when you're a foster child, out of the mouth of babes, as they say, I came out and blurted, I said, social isolating. Social services teach me to socially isolate. This is a cakewalk for me. And when you think about it, I know, right? It really was. I socially isolated from day one, if you get my drift. So Karen, may Creator continue to bless you and your family. I'm so grateful you could be here tonight. Maybe a little bird told you about you in your beautiful picture.
No, I just seen it just now. It's beautiful, thank you.
You're part of my heart and a part of my family. And because it is a birthday night, we have this beautiful, the sage is in here, a woman's medicine, a little heart, and a little angel in here too. Because I was no little angel, so you got one now. And mostly happy birthday, Mars. Thank you.
I'm so proud of Jackie. Like, I can't talk right now because I'm so proud of her. And I just like she said, she was in the 60s Scoop, so I had to give her up. And it's kind of hard right now, but I still love her anyway. So.
I'm sorry, I was sick, but I had to be here today, so don't mind I'm usually done up to the nines, eh? And Joe just got up back home from work, but we knew we had to come. And yeah, Jackie's just been an inspiration to me. And I'm so proud that my son has such a strong auntie, and that lineage will be passed down to him, and then he gets to pass it down to his kids. So that just makes me very happy to know that's the family that he's born into.
Thanks for everyone for coming. Not much of a talker, but it's nice to be here, and I'm glad I made it. Thanks.
Say, I love you, Auntie.
I love you.
He's learning. He's learning.
Okay. Yeah. So we still have a little bit of time left, Jasper?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, for sure. Oh, that day, yeah. Okay. So what I would like to do, and that's just, for some of my mentors and those of you who have known me for quite a while, I'm grateful if it's an early Christmas gift to all of you that you could witness my family being here tonight. That's why I've continued to do what I do. And you can't buy that down at the old Hudson Bay, that doesn't exist anymore. And if it's okay, my friends, how about Brian first, and then did Robert flee the building? I don't see Robert Doucette. Is he here? If he comes back, we're always okay. So Brian, maybe Brian and my friend Doug, and then we have a mic. If you don't want to come up here, that's okay too.
You will have to indicate who you are though, so I can.
Brian's powerful because it isn't just my story, it's our collective story.
Am I the right Brian?
Oh, you too, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this one first, and then however you want to do it. Oh yeah, we got doubles here tonight. We got Brian and Brian, April and April. I like this. For the real Brian, please stand up.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. I am Brian Reynoldson, Reynoldson, but at birth, my name was Edward James Patra, and I am a product of the 60s Scoop. There were 10 of us. Given up or an option, and my stutter, it's a by product my scoop. After my foster father died, social services in their wisdom decided to take me out of my foster family. And at that time, I was a kid learning how to talk and, well, how to stutter I've had my whole life, and I'll carry it proudly until the time I pass into the spirit world. And my story, it's not all bad. My foster family, they were extremely supportive of me. It. And I found my family in 2010. Was 50. I didn't have a clue. I thought this year ends. Hello, I'm host of top services, and well, I will. Yes, and we opened it up, and well, a whole pile of it was redacted, blacked out. So we estimated there were 10 of us, and the mother, the father, the biological father, you don't know who he is, whoever. And anyways, we met our siblings the day I got married in 2010. They all came to my wedding, and I tell you, that was real life bring experience. And hey, we still keeping on at, and yeah, that's my story, and it's very different.
Hi, everybody. My name is also Brian. I don't think I was originally planned to be up here, just by accident that we share the same name. But I do have a perspective here. So I think this is maybe part of God's plan, maybe, I don't know. But I was born in Meadow Lake, and my family was from up north. And eventually we moved up into Buffalo Narrows, where I started going to school. And Jackie knows a little bit about this because we talked about it a little while back. But I remember various times of the year, there'd be my friends in my classes would just disappear, just gone. And sometimes I heard maybe they went out onto the trap line with their dad, or they were needed for working on the main grants or something like that. But I didn't know what to think, and I got to overhear my mother and social workers. My mother was vehemently arguing, "How can you do this? Like, and then how can you make a mother be away from her child? How can you take a child from her parent, from their parents? So that's just my perspective, and so it was real, and now I'm seeing a little more, hearing a little bit more about the other side of the coin, and I guess I'm. It's amazing the experience that Jackie's had and the recovery that she's had. I think it's a miracle, and I'm glad to be a very small part of it. Thanks.
Would like two beautiful people, Doug and then Nora, if you wouldn't mind. And these are people that either directly or definitely indirectly have been impacted by the 60 scoop. And well, Doug is making his way up here. He's a short talker, so don't worry. And one of the things here, we always say we like to bring this night by, thank our sponsors for being here. So I'd like to thank my clinicians who are in the crowd tonight. Because guess what, right? Really what it comes down to, for me, I really am about be careless in your dress if you must, but keep a tidy soul. And a strong healing journey has allowed that for me. But sometimes a girl just needs a little help from her friends. And also, ironically, because I was a sick child, that you guys would just think I'm wonky, but I am. I love it. Ironically, because I was a sick child, I was on tons and tons of medication, which had not only physical, but all sorts of impacts, including dental, right? And some of you've heard my journey about that. So guess what, friends? I think it's really important. I have no shame in whatever you call it from where I come from. So without pointing them out, I thank my dentist for being here. For a wider, brighter smile. I know it's kind of ironic, but the thing of it is, right, we never, at the same time, as much as I say that, right, we never know whose lives we're impacting, right? As they impact our lives, we also impact others' lives. Doug, my friend.
Oh, my dear, save that for the other fellows. I'll keep it short, I promise. My name's Doug.
Okay.
And I'm grateful to be here, and certainly grateful to have Jackie in my life. There's something that goes on when you meet a kindred spirit. You gain a connection. Spiritual connection that we have transcends what usually goes on in the third dimension. I'm not an individual who likes to stay in the third dimension. I rocketed myself into the fifth, and I began building after that. I was born in Saskatoon, got a breakaway when I was 18, and spent the next 45 years traversing around the desert, discovering things. And when I came back, I met Jackie, and she amazed me because I've not met too many people in my life that have overcome some of the obstacles that she has in her life, and has managed to not only hold it together, but to be able to accomplish goals without really comprehending a lot of what was going on in her life at that time, but being able to heal. I'm not very nice. I don't plan to be. Nice to me is pleasing, and I stopped pleasing a while ago. What I do is I found kindness as a virtue, and therefore I practice kindness because kindness brings the truth, and truth is healing. So whether you're tearing scabs off wounds, or you're being me studying astro and quantum physics to comprehend what needs to be understood to bring a solution. I completely comprehend genetic suppression. I know exactly what's going on with that world. I didn't have to be taught, but God puts people in my life when I need them there to solve problems. Problems that we're looking at solving is what brought Jackie and I together in the first place was a little talk I did at Mustard Seed. When I came in, I'm the guy that'll go into a maximum security prison in California and build a healing center in the middle of that type of criminal behavior. Not to say everybody's a criminal, But if you can walk into that environment, pull people out and convince them that they too have a manner in which they can live, we have an obligation in humanity to take that treatment. It's not treatment, it's therapeutic, it's healing. That healing process, it's not a program, it's a protocol for those of us that have the deeper defects of character caused by such things as the 60s scoop. What we understand from my shoes is that when you break the silver cord connected between mother and child, because the supreme feminine is the creator of life, must be respected as such. That's what our ancestors say. For me, I got a little upset when I came back here. My mother's Nadine Bogren. She was an executive secretary at the College of Education. So she was the dean's executive secretary. So she ran the College of Education because the doctors there don't run it. The secretaries run the show. So my mother was that, and my mother was also the first hire from Donald Ford in 1975 when they were building something called the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission. My mother was the Department of Justice's first hire from Donald Ford to uphold humanity, to walk into the environments that she walked into. And for that, I'm grateful because I am now expressing those genes that she gave me. I myself went in and on a 3-year plan. I don't know if we understand much about intervention today in general as a public, but I did a planned intervention because I was a little angry at everybody. But I don't get angry, I get passionate when I get angry. And then watch out, because I'm the guy that's up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't sleep like everybody else, but I don't suffer from insomnia. For all my life, when you guys are sleeping, I'm up reading. And I've done that my whole life. So I don't have a problem being who I am, speaking truths that I know are real. A divine intervention happened and nobody really knows about it yet. But I went into the RPC, I got a little upset because I was only going to go into the jail and do an AA meeting in the jail. And the Saskatoon Police Department sent back to me some reference as to I might be really clean here, but I may be dirty internationally. Because I hadn't been here, my record's clean. So I gave them the right to go through Interpol, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, and everyone else to find out whatever they can find out about me. And when it came back, I had clearance to go into the RPC and any RPC in Canada through the federal government because they found out who I was. Now I'm back here and I went into the RPC and I did a plan because I have a program that we've worked on when we shut down Ironwood State Prison in California. The goal was to shut the prison down when I went in there. The prison shut down. God did. God will do what God needs to do. I'm sober today and I'm doing this thing because otherwise I'd be on a street corner screaming and yelling at everybody. Jackie never did that. She just went crazy her way. I went crazy mine, but I love being crazy. Because when I went in there and I brought that special program and I spotted that kid that was willing, and I saw 3 others that were willing inside that prison, that hellhole, that shit box that were keeping people in that don't belong there, because that kid came out, he did exactly what was suggested. He went in, that kid's got almost 2 years and he hadn't had 17 days. He didn't know that he needed a jacket in wintertime. He'd never been invited to dinner. Jackie and I share a lot because we're tied together spiritually. When I need energy, I just go here. I don't have to be there. Because I believe so strongly in what she's doing, I could transcend any distance between us to pull that energy because our connection is really true. We both believe in what we believe in. I believe she knows herself thoroughly and I know myself thoroughly. that kids out of prison never belonged there in the first place. Gene suppression is real. It's a very real thing. Being able to come in and do the unconditioning that's necessary is just a gift. It's a gift that comes to you when you study and you turn your will and life over into the care of a power. This power is greater than we are. So I'm going to do that. And by the way, that once this was done, my first degree is mathematics. My second degree was up here out of the University of Saskatchewan when I passed all my pre-med requirements and was doing my physiology degree, my 5-year plan before life happened. And when I went back down, I got another degree in social psychology, and then I went into prison to do what I needed to do. I didn't know what I was doing. It's me. I'm the guy on the corner screaming and yelling at everybody. The person you see in front of you today is unconditioned to those conditioned things that person experienced in life. I can tell you, the silver cord can be mended. It can be mended. People can become authentically who they were supposed to become in the first place. They certainly can. Love, that's the key. Love. We have to forget about all the other stuff and we have to move in love. It's the bond that we create that's honest between us, and it's the bond that we created between us as being honest with each other and a higher power that's there, and it's a creator. And I know that creator is real. My wife is walking. The health can't explain. She doesn't have a T2 vertebrae. Most of her T1's gone and her T3. When she woke up, she was paralyzed. They can't explain that, but I can. She had stage 4 cancer metastasized to her bones, pulmonary system, vascular system, it went everywhere, adrenal glands. But if you give me that marker that tells me what that cell is, I'll tell you exactly what to do naturally. The world that's artificial is not our world. Our world is natural. The healing processes that I learned, I was married to a Cherokee Choctaw girl, and she taught me most about life. She was a soulmate that just was the right person at the right time for a lost soul like me. She helped me connect back to the source that is everything, that provides us with everything that we need to heal. And I think it's time we heal, because I'll show you a picture of that kid that had never been invited to dinner, never been invited anywhere. So your mind cannot go teach that young man anything unless you put your mind where that young man is. And if you can't do that, don't try. You'll only make it worse. If you can do that, then you need to unite and support what needs to be going on. Sympathetic energy is not the answer. Empathetic energy is the answer. Healing communities are real. And the one that I go from was a healing community that was started in Italy, in San Patrignano. The people that I can bring Dr. Igor Kutsnak taught me, Dr. David Deach. When we get into the recovery process and you want some information, the first recovery program in the entire continental America was at Synanon. The people that taught me were the people that were at Synanon. You have David Deach, who now runs the UC San Diego Medical Center. But the program that we did was a special access program because it built an entire master's program at UC San Diego. Dr. Igor Kutsnak, who taught me, well, he just ran everything at the United Nations. He was the director of every recovery project and crime prevention project in the world. How does one get those people in your life? How do I get a Jackie to teach me in my life about the value of life? Healing requires love. If you don't love yourself unconditionally, learn how. Period. thank you. She's the most wonderful woman ever. Thank you.
Understandable. I believe McNally Robinson closes at 9 p.m. So I'm going to still invite Norm up. I think it's really important. And then I'm sure Jasper would pass the mic to one or two people if someone has a couple words they'd like to ask. For me, an autograph is important, but the best autograph is being present and in person. So Norm.